Record. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Hazel Claros. I am the Assistant Director of Admissions here at SOLES, or School of Leadership and Education Sciences, our mouthful. And you are joining us for the Masters in Leadership Studies program session. So for those of you who it's your first time joining us in a session, I just want to tell you a little bit more about our college. For those of you who have joined us for previous sessions, bear with me, it's just a little reminder. So SOLES is a collective of academic departments, centers, and institutes. So we are one of the colleges here at the University of San Diego. We currently offer 11 degrees and 5 graduate certificates, and we have a little bit over 34 full-time faculty members, for over 40 affiliate faculty, and over 30 administrators and staff. We have over 800 graduate students, and as of this year, we have 48% students of color. One thing that I like to point out is that our college is the most diverse college at the University of San Diego, something we pride ourselves in because it aligns really well with our core values. Our college focuses on diversity, equity, inclusion, and really is at the forefront in terms of our social justice work. We pride ourselves in our teaching, but more so than that, we pride ourselves in the care that we offer to our community, to our SOLES community. So you'll hear this constantly in our rhetoric, and even when you talk to current students and alumni, there truly is a sense of community amongst our students, staff, and faculty at SOLES. So you do get that sense of the care for the whole person. And there's also that piece of that excellence in scholarship. So not only are we preparing you through your degree, but there's this level of personal and professional support throughout your time at SOLES. These are just a few quotes that a few students have shared with us. So I won't read through all of them, but a common theme from our students is always that piece of being able to be their authentic selves. And so what students find, recognizing that we are at an institution that is a predominantly white institution, SOLES has a very unique space at the University of San Diego. It's a very diverse college. There's very much a strong sense of appreciation of others' cultures, folks of different backgrounds. And so you'll be able to find that with us, along with this really strong sense of collaboration and, again, that supportive piece. That's just a little bit about SOLES. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Boozer. Go ahead and introduce yourself. And then we actually have two, an alumna and a current student of the program. So we'll allow them to introduce themselves afterwards as well.
Well, thank you so much, Hazel. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to get to meet you this afternoon and to see some familiar faces that I already know and admire greatly as some of our students in the undergrad program. My name is Dr. Leslie Boozer, and I'm a professor of practice in the Department of Leadership Studies. This is my third year here on campus. I come from a K-12 background. I was a superintendent of schools, so I focus a lot on educational policy, as well as particularly leading for social justice and equity and what that looks like from the superintendent's position. I actually run a program for future superintendents here on campus, where we're working with professionals who are out in the working world, who are leaders currently in K-12 school districts. I also have done a lot with grassroots social movements and collective impact and what that looks like for leadership and decision making. For the master's program, I teach a couple of the kind of core classes that are required for all of our students to take. And I've had both Chris Marie and Bobby as excellent students in my courses. So I teach Lead 559, which is organizational theory and change, which is kind of a cornerstone class that goes over what it means to kind of lead through change in your organization. I also teach the Leadership and Action course, which is kind of like an internship course, which follows designing your life kind of curriculum, which is out of the design school at Stanford. So that really helps you plan out how you're going to use your master's in leadership studies degree. And the capstone course, which is the final class that you take, where you present a portfolio of work and do a presentation to the Department of Leadership Studies faculty. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Thank you, Leslie. Bobby, if I could have you start us off, the short introduction.
Hi, my name is Bobby Cox. I just graduated from the Master's of Leadership program in May of 2021. I also received 2 certificates, one in restorative justice and leadership coaching also. And I am in my first semester of the leadership PhD program.
Bobby just can't get enough of us. And Chris Marie, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, welcome everyone. My name is Chris Marie Urzadowski. I'm in my second year of the Master's Program of Leadership Studies. I'm actually in Dr. Boozer's class right now for capstone. It's my last semester, so I'm about to leave. Oh no, I'm kind of sad about that. And I'm also about to wrap up the Restorative Justice Facilitation and Leadership certificate as well.
Yeah, Chris Marie, there's no reason why you can't apply to the PhD as well. Just saying. All right, everyone, let's dive into more about the program. And this is something I really love. When Dr. Boozer and Dr. Jimenez Luque established this, I think it really gives the program a little bit more depth than what you initially saw just looking at our website. So Dr. Boozer, if you could share a little bit more about the guiding pillars behind the program.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, we were really excited to really define this and kind of continue to evolve our work in leadership studies. We really have 3 pillars that anchors our work. The first is an international global mindset, as you see there. One of our requirements is an international requirement that all of you will have an international experience, either here locally on campus or hopefully traveling abroad. We have amazing opportunities for you to experience courses from an international perspective and actually travel now that the world is opening back up and we're able to do that again. We think that this is critically important because, as we know, the world is continuing to get smaller as we look at those kind of wicked problems that particularly plague leadership and organizations. We know that it takes kind of a global mindset, understanding global cultures in order to really be able to solve those dilemmas that so many of us face in leadership. The second one is intercultural sensitivity and competence. We want to be able to work with people from all different types of backgrounds and really be extremely respectful. I think Hazel set the tone so well when she described what our core values are at SOLES. And we mirror that, of course, in the Department of Leadership Studies, that we feel very strongly that it's important to be very inclusive, highly respectful of everyone, and really recognize and celebrate the different cultures that makes all of our students' body so rich and the world so rich. So we really focus on that. And then finally, we have a strong commitment to social justice and advocacy. I think SOLES as an entire community is deeply dedicated to social justice. And that's something that we are constantly working as a faculty across the school, and particularly, I know I can say for the Department of Leadership Studies, is continuing to really make sure that we are demonstrating a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, that our work often has social justice implications. So we take kind of all 3 of these things together, and that's what guides all of our courses. And as Chris Marie is experiencing right now, also very much guides their portfolio that you produce at the culmination of your program.
Yeah, thank you. And Leslie, if you could just share an example of what a wicked problem would be in case folks aren't familiar with that term.
Yes, definitely. Well, there are many out there, unfortunately, but wicked problems is what we refer to as those problems that there's not a known solution for, that, and a solution is really required from an interdisciplinary perspective. To me, I think of a big one that we've all been dealing with is like the COVID pandemic. Obviously, you have to solve that issue. It takes people from all different sectors of our society in order to be able to adequately and definitely with a justice-oriented mind solve the challenges that's come out of the COVID pandemic. Other things could be like global warming and the environment, racial injustice. All of those are definitely considered wicked problems.
Thank you so much. All right, now in here, we're going to jump into a little bit about the curriculum. Leslie, you touched a little bit about this, but essentially the program is broken up into your leadership core courses. And then one thing that we really pride ourselves on is you're not just going to understand the theory behind leadership, but you're also going to apply it to practice through our research requirements and through the electives that you get to choose throughout the program. Now, Leslie, could you share a little bit more about this? And then Chris, Marie, and Bobby, you'll also be able to share a little bit about your experiences with these courses.
Yes, we do have some core courses that are required, but I think one of the highlights of our program is actually you have a lot of room to pursue some specialty areas of interest. As you heard with Chris, Marie, and Bobby, as they both have gotten certificates. And really, there's a lot of opportunity here for you to be very flexible and design your courses. There's some sample areas of focus that are listed on the elective slide. As you can see, we have a lot of courses around athletic leadership and administration, and we've been building those out. Of course, business and policy. A lot of our students go into organizational coaching and consulting, as well, of course, now restorative justice work with the new RJ certificate. Many go into K-12 and higher education, but we also have many that actually go into all different sectors, including nonprofits and higher ed. Even though we actually have a master's program that focus on those, we still often have students from those backgrounds that like the leadership studies curriculum because it does have a lot of flexibility in those elective courses so that you can really design your kind of own path of interest and what you would like to study. But if you want to just go back, Hazel, for 1 second to the required courses, I kind of mentioned those that were listed. So you have your 4 leadership core classes that you'll take. Then you do have the research requirement, which is a 3-unit course on research design and methodology. You have very much your practical experience, which is the course that I mentioned that I teach, which is called Leadership in Action, where you'll complete an internship or carve out a special project in your full-time job. Many of our students already work a full-time job, so they carve out a special leadership project within their current role. So you don't have to worry if you're like, oh, there's no way I'd have time to also do an internship on top of my work experience, that we have a lot of flexibility built into that program. And then, of course, that exit requirement that I mentioned is the capstone course.
I'm muted. So with that, Chris, Marie, could you share a little bit, since you're in the capstone course right now, what capstone are you working on? Tell us a little bit about your research.
Oh, okay. So for the capstone that I'm doing, it's not necessarily research on one topic. So it's kind of you're putting together a portfolio of your journey through the program. At least that's how I experience this right now. I see the nodding of the head. So, okay, I'm in the right direction. So we're writing about our international experience. Since, as you can see, there's a requirement to have like a global and intercultural class as one of the core, as part of the core curriculum. We're writing about our leadership in action experience. We're also pulling from some of our previous work and kind of, in a way, reflecting on the work, describing the work, reflecting on it. And then what I meant. Oh, and then of course, as we move forward, we should have a resume prepared. We should also kind of be ready for the changes in the job market right now. A lot of them are really liking the intro videos or resume videos. And so we had an opportunity to do that for our portfolio as well. So it's a little bit of reflect on your time here, but then also let's prepare you to be in the real world.
Thank you, Chris Marie. Now, Bobby, you took advantage of the flexibility with the program and the certificate options as well. Can you share a little bit about your experience in the program and how you weaved all of that throughout your time here?
Yes, thank you. So one of the reasons I decided to attend USD SOLES was because during the open houses, when I learned that you basically can craft your own degree in the interest you want. So you could do a little bit of business, you could do a little bit of nonprofit, higher ed within your leadership degree. In summer of 2020, is when the restorative justice was offered. And I was, yes, I need to do this. So I dropped everything else that I was going to do for electives and jumped on that experience. And so I ended up with my leadership coaching. With that alone was just an experience in itself. Learning about yourself and learning about other people, which I completely believe that you need for not restorative leadership. So you can understand people's ideals and their personalities and everything for work too. And so restorative justice kind of nestled into it. And I love the fact that with the leadership studies that the 4 core for our degree is literally like a step for each one. So when you take this one, it helps you with the next one, which helps you with the third one. And that's something that I really, really loved.
Great, thank you. Now, in regards to this global component that we keep referencing, part of SOLES, part of an exit requirement for all the programs is this global experience. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as the international requirement, but essentially it's a course that you need to take in order to build your cultural competency to help develop that as it relates to your program. Now, the traditional way that folks do it is you get to go abroad. It's your mini study abroad trip. So faculty design courses that are typically 7 to 12 days long. And the courses usually take place in the winter or over your spring vacation, over the summer, to help accommodate the schedule for folks who may be working full-time or part-time. So it truly is that experiential learning piece. There are opportunities if for any reason you're not able to travel outside of if you're not able to travel internationally, I should say, there's domestic opportunities that you can participate in, as well as occasionally there's a class offered that will fulfill that requirement without you needing to leave USD. So before I play this quick little video from one of our former students, Leslie, could you share a little bit about any courses that you've developed in the past or that are coming in the future?
No, great. Actually, I'm working with Dr. Laura Dietrich right now, who's one of our amazing longtime professors here in the nonprofit program. And we're putting together a global experience that we're hoping to offer next summer, where we'll be going to Rome and to Florence. And really studying kind of leadership and organizational change and what that looks like through the lens of like looking at the beginning of philanthropy and giving. And so how like corporate social responsibility has really unfolded across the world, and the giving attitude that all organizations, not just nonprofits anymore or public sector organizations, but also even for-profit businesses are really finding their customers are demanding and wanting to see from their leadership that they have this social justice agenda, that they have a corporate social responsibility lean, and kind of the beginnings of that, looking back to Italy and to Rome and to Florence area.
Great, thank you. It sounds really exciting. And if it's for next summer, guess what? All of you can apply and enroll in the program. So Bobby, could you share what your experience was like doing that global requirement?
So with me, since I started 2019 and the pandemic kind of like ate the rest of my degree time in school, we did a class where we were able to learn about like the different leadership styles within different countries. So I did study abroad in my undergrad, which was wonderful and I loved it. And being in a different country, of course, is exciting. But the class that I took, which I took with Chris Marie, yes? Oh, I did it. Okay. Anyways, we've been in a lot of classes. You start to get used to your cohorts. I was able to learn more in depth, which I found exciting, that learning the basics of leadership within separate countries that is not similar to ours in the US was great. So that was my experience.
Yeah, thank you for that. And, that was a year of lots of flexibility on everyone's part. And so it's great to hear that even with those immediate changes, you still found that experience fulfilling in itself. Chris Marie, have you taken your global experience yet?
Yeah, same thing though.
Okay.
Due to the pandemic, there weren't anything offered, to be able to travel, and so mine was in just here on Zoom. But actually, before I answer that question, before I answer that, I saw in the chat too about the cost, because my class was just on Zoom. It was just normal tuition. But I think normally, because I was so excited for for this. I already planned which class I was going to take and everything. But anyway, yeah, I think it's the flight that you have to pay for is what I understood, is what I remembered. The tuition itself was included, but not the flight. So Jordan, hopefully that answers your question. It may change though. Maybe things have changed also for the upcoming semesters. So for my experience, I was really lucky. I already knew the professor. It was Global Leadership Challenges of Cognitive and Social Justice. And the professor, like I said, I'd had before. His professional experience was with international organizations on peace building, interculturality, social movements, and I'd read a lot of his scholarly work already, looking at cultural, social, and historical perspectives, at leadership, and then looking at it both at the local and global levels. So for me, I had an amazing time. I loved it. Wished we could have gone elsewhere to kind of be in the environment with an international community, but it's okay. This worked out even better. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And just to clarify one thing, so for all of you who didn't see the message in the chat, in terms of the cost for the global experience, if you do go abroad, the courses are typically offered at half the rate of tuition. So they range from $830 per unit to like $850 per unit. So it would be about half of the cost of what a regular class would cost you. That is done to offset the cost of their airfare. And I will tell you, students, work out different things to be able to ensure that they can cover the airfare piece. And we also have students who say, you know what, this is over the summer, so it's cheaper for me to stay an extra 2 weeks in Italy. So they make, a trip out of it, sacrifices that we all have to make. So there's those different pieces, but there, I love that I made Chris Marie like crack up. So there are those pieces. On top of that, there's scholarships available to assist with travel. And so those are we have a global center that works with the faculty in order to organize all the courses. And so you'll know ahead of time when the courses are available for you to apply, and you like save your spot and enroll. And as well as if there's any scholarships or grants available for that specific course. Okay. All right, so let me just play this quick little video and then we'll move on.
Our commitment to global education started decades ago. Every student, they should actually have to engage in a global experience. What I think is impactful is that it's across every department, and there are a broad variety of courses, which I think is what makes it so spectacular.
I was able to embark on this journey to visit the University of Auckland. It was great to kind of create my own curriculum with my professor, but at the same time have an opportunity to go somewhere that I've never been before.
And just really quickly, one reason why I like Ariela's experience is because hers was very unique in that she didn't join one of the courses abroad that was already developed by faculty. She was actually someone who's had an opportunity to do a lot of traveling. And so the courses that were being offered at the time weren't places that she was interested in traveling to. And so she petitioned to basically develop her own course and was able to go to Auckland with that. So again, there's a lot of flexibility here. And as long as you are able to, working closely with your faculty advisor, there really is a lot of support in making sure that you get the experience that you're looking for through the program. All right, program outcomes. So here we just have a couple of different alumni titles that have been shared with us. But Leslie, could you share a little bit of the anecdotes that you have of our alumni?
Yeah, it's always just so amazing to see the next steps that our students will take. Definitely you see many of our alumni job titles up there, but I have to say that they are so diverse and different. I just think of some of the students that that I have right now that are getting ready to graduate. Sometimes they go in to become everything from like realtors to entrepreneurs and own their own business. Many become life coaches or put together that work on the RJ side after our 2 certificates. We have some that are in the ministry and leadership on that side in a variety of roles. We also have some that work for different academic organizations that help to lead in such a wide variety of positions. I've had everything I want to think from. I have a alumni I was emailing today. She's now a realtor for Sotheby's. And then I was emailing another one of our students the other day, and he's a professional baseball player. So we have really the gamut that everyone goes into different roles and positions. It's very much tailored to what they envision that they want to do. So I feel like the sky is really the limit when you think about how you want to use your leadership degree, because it's actually applicable in whatever career field that you decide to go into. So many of them, they go on to become professors. I know Chris Marie is also actually teaching in our leadership studies minor. Some go on, of course, to PhD programs like Bobby. So there's lots of options really for you to find your particular niche and add the courses that you need to be successful in that role.
Right. Thank you. Now, next we have 2 quotes from former alumni. Bobby, if you could read the first quote, and then Chris Marie, if you could read the second.
I had a great experience with the program. It was a great and fruitful investment for me. It has been 3 years since I graduated, and I am still applying my learnings on a daily basis.
A life-changing experience. You go through a train of emotional exploration, question all ideas that made you the person you are today, and then choosing your own way of leading yourself.
So with that, we're getting to the end of our presentation. Really, the takeaways are that our program is a very interdisciplinary field. And you're really going to apply to practice the concepts that you're learning in the classroom. But beyond that, the program is really about that personal and professional development. Like those previous quotes shared, our students go through a personal transformation first. They really learn to explore what their leadership style is, what their biases are, why they look at the world the way that they do. And then once they've understood those, then they're able to play around with different leadership styles. Or, we're all conditioned that there might be one form of leadership style, but really there's so many different styles that you can play with. And what this program allows you to do is apply your leadership to the organization of your choosing. And again, there's that flexibility piece of it's very customizable and will meet whatever needs you have. Is there anything else you would like to add, Leslie, in regards to takeaways?
I think actually you explained it really well. I just want to reiterate how much of a personal transformation it is. That's really what I always hear from each of our students as they approach graduation, just how much they're thinking and their leadership views. I mean, not only do they start to really understand all the theories, but really putting it into practice. The way that they present themselves has totally transformed, and the way that they interact with others. And I feel that regardless of what career you go into afterwards, they all have that common thread that they take with them.
All right, and now just a few of the technical pieces, everyone. So now that you've heard how amazing our program are, and now that you could have Dr. Boozer as your faculty advisor, because who wouldn't want that? It comes down to submitting your application. And so within the application itself, you always want to make sure that you choose your recommenders carefully. Our application only requires 2 letters of recommendation, a resume, a statement of purpose, and your official transcript from wherever you earned your undergrad. The letters of recommendation help us understand your experiences. Ideally, they should come one from a professor and one from, professional, an employer, a professional mentor. And if for some reason you don't have a professor or access to a professor, then they can both be professional letters of recommendation, but ideally someone who can speak to your strengths academically, as well as to the experiences that you have that lend themselves to leadership. In terms of the essay, it's only 500 words, so that's roughly 2 pages double spaced, right? And my best advice is look at the prompt question, answer the question, right? Just start writing and then give somebody else your statement to read and just ask them, did you answer the question? More often than not, sometimes I'll see that students get caught up in the little details of wanting to tell their full story. And 500 words really isn't a lot to do. So you want to make sure you're answering the question while still sharing your story. And then resume and official transcripts, those things are, in itself pretty straightforward. But if you do have any questions about that, and you weren't able to attend our previous session, we do have a recording on going over your resume and going over your statement of purpose. Okay. Now, Leslie, could you share a little bit about the review process? Once a student has submitted their application, what are the faculty looking for?
Yeah, I think we're definitely looking for, I think you gave great advice on what to put on or put into your application. But we have people that come in at a variety of different starting points. So, don't be dissuaded if you're coming straight from undergrad or if you're a working professional with 20 years of experience out in the field. We actually want that diverse kind of group setting. So we have people with all different experience levels and backgrounds, but really people that are interested in learning deeply about leadership and why that's important. who like our interdisciplinary approach because we do really stress that, and you'll experience that in all your courses. And finally, just people that are really eager to learn and reflect our values. You saw our pillars, you saw the core values of SOLES in general. So we definitely want those leaders that have social justice in their hearts, that want to make a difference and be a positive change in the world.
Bobby, Chris Marie, do you have any words to add on the application process? Any things that you remember from when you went through that process? Chris Marie says no, because it was such a fantastic process. I hope.
Yeah, I think it was just so easy and straightforward. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't. How's that? I don't really remember much. I'm not. Yeah, that's not a good answer. I'm sorry.
Bobby,
For me, because for part of the GPA, I know for one of my schools, because I did a community college, went to the university for my bachelor's. So my cumulative, I can't say it, but the whole score, my GPA was low from transferring that GPA. But from the university, I was on the dean's list the whole time for my bachelor's. So I just made sure that I threw in a couple of sentences just so that they would understand what I was going through at that possible time. So I just tell everybody, everyone has a good GPA, everybody's a good person, everybody wants to make a change. So try to figure out what's unique about you. What is the whipped cream and the cherry on top that somebody else doesn't have? And then just make sure you throw in a few sentences regarding some of the diversity stuff that you had to go through, what was your uphill. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, because 500, when you're first starting it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much. And then you start writing it and then you're realizing you're like beyond. So just try to make sure that you're focusing on you and the stuff that you would like to make changes on and what made you a better person.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Thanks, Bobby. All right, now let's move on to a big piece of applying to the program. So our rate of tuition is $1,509 per unit. The program itself is at 36 units. So one thing for all of you to be mindful of is the program, usually to complete it, if you're enrolled in it full time, takes about 2 years. But we do have students who are able to complete the program part-time and choose to do so. And we also have students who choose to take less units per semester because there are courses offered during the intersession and over the summer. So they can still finish in 2 years, but they're spreading out the courses over all of those different enrollment options. So, just be aware of that. Our program does not fully fund anyone, but there's a lot of opportunities there for loans, scholarships, grants. If there's specific situations that you think we should be aware of, please, by all means, make an advising appointment with me. If you are in the military and want to understand your military benefits, or an undocumented, documented student, there's different things that we can look at to help ease the cost of tuition. But we also want to make sure that you're all aware of, this is an investment in yourself, and we want to make sure you have the literacy to be able to plan for your time in the program, whether that be 2 years or 3 years. You're working full-time, part-time, on campus, off campus, whatever that looks like. Okay. Just for attending the session, you'll receive an application fee waiver. So by all means, please apply. It costs you nothing, just a little bit of your time. And when it comes to the enrollment deposit, that $200, that's going to be sent to you at the time of admission if you are admitted to the program. Again, there's flexibility there if there's specific circumstances impacting your ability to make the $200 deposit. Okay. Now, our two students, would you be okay with sharing a little bit about your experience in terms of financing the program? Yeah, Bobby, could you share a little bit about that?
Yes. Before I share mine, this is one advice I do give to everybody. Make sure you do the FAFSA because your scholarships and your grants are based on it. So the sooner you get your FAFSA in, then they're able to have a baseline of what, if you are able to receive, they'll be able to give to you. So for me, that is very, very important. Any scholarships, any grants you may apply to, which you would need to check into. So if you're applying for fall 2022, there's grants and scholarships you might have to apply for this semester or the spring semester that will apply to that semester. So if you are going to apply, double check those dates to make sure you don't miss any of the scholarships in the grants. So for my first semester, I think I missed that deadline. So this is one of the reasons I bring it to other students to make sure that you don't miss it. I did do the student loans. For the most part, I did receive lots of grants and scholarships that helped me move forward. And to be able to do the program, I would not have been able to otherwise. So I was very grateful with everything that USD and SOLES was able to help me with my financing. And the other advice is read all your emails, because you might miss an opportunity of a scholarship or a grant that is given, especially right now with COVID, in some of the monies that the government is handing or giving because of COVID to help students. So make sure you're reading all your emails, or else you might miss an opportunity of receiving some sort of help. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry, Hazel. The grants and scholarships do not apply to intercession or summer. They were only for fall and spring.
Yes, very true. And I will follow up with that. We do have financial aid webinars coming up next week, and we also do them again after admission. So definitely join us for those, because they help walk you through all these different steps when it comes to loans and grant eligibility and all of those technical pieces. Chris Marie, would you mind? I know you're outside.
I'm on campus. It looks like there's a class that just came out too. So
okay, no worries. We'll come back to you. And
here, I will put it in chat. How about that?
Sounds perfect. Thank you. That is, I will share with all of you, one of the perks of being back on campus. Everyone is taking advantage of how beautiful our campus is. And everyone's saying, like, we need to wear masks inside. Why not go outside and just have class outside and enjoy the San Diego weather? Because even though right now it's a little bit chilly, it's bearable, it's nice, it's beautiful. All right, so just to wrap things up and open it up to a few questions, as a reminder, we do have several application deadlines. So this program's available for a spring start, which means you would start end of January, early February, summer start, and then a fall start. And the fall start does have a priority deadline and a final deadline. The priority deadline essentially just means, we really look at it as like rolling admissions from April 1st through the end of June. And so just as long as you're submitting a complete application throughout that time, it'll be reviewed for the fall. Okay. And with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions you all have for myself, Leslie, Bobby. You can chat them to Chris Marie, because I see that class in the background. And don't be shy.
I do see Jordan asked a question. Does that mean we would be applying for scholarships before knowing we are accepted? I personally, because I didn't know that I was going to be accepted for the PhD yet, I reached out to those that were giving out the scholarships and the grants, and asked them if it was okay if I could apply for the scholarships or the grants before knowing that I was accepted. Some do expect you to have at least 6 units that you had completed at USD before applying. You would just need to go and look to see what their criteria is. And also there's a few scholarships, I don't know if they're grants too, that when they're looking at your application and your personal statement, along with your FAFSA, that's why that's very important. They will be able to give you automatically a grant. You don't have to do anything for it, but there are like a few that you get automatically when you're applying. Did that answer your question?
And everyone, feel free to unmute yourselves if you do have any questions.
Hi, thank you for all this wonderful information. I really appreciate it. I'm very new to all this. I'm first gen in this way. My parents are non-traditional, so I have a lot of questions. So hello, puppy. I was wondering, I know there's like a grad assistantship opportunity. And I know you can get like scholarship funds through that way too. How do you go about like applying for that? Is it part of this program or is it other programs?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble with my connection. Leslie, would you be able to share a little bit about chips and assistantships?
Sure. We always have a lot of graduate assistantships that we offer through our department and through SOLES as a whole, offers a lot of different opportunities to students. Those typically, particularly for master's students, are available after the start of the year. So there are ways to earn additional dollars while you're here on campus. So you don't receive those typically before coming in the fall, but what our dean's office does is actually they gather all the opportunities that are available across SOLES. They will post all the job descriptions, the hours, the rates, and then students apply. So typically, at least I could talk for our department of the Department of Leadership Studies, all the professors receive some hours, and then we have some specialty positions. Like right now, I'm co-chairing the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategic Planning Committee. So we were able to hire 2 GAs to help with that. I have a master's student that's filling that role and a PhD student that's filling one of the roles. So there's lots of opportunities for you to earn additional dollars while you're on campus, but those you would find out after you're already here and enrolled, typically.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Any other questions? I guarantee you there will be questions once we log off.
I have a question.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I was just trying to figure out how to unmute myself. My question is, so I'm in the Navy and I'm gonna be applying through a Fleet Scholar Education Program, which is the program that the Navy does. So they have very specific like degree plan criterias that they want you to meet. And I'm interested in this program, but it doesn't quite fit in the 4 like criteria that they have. Is there a way that I can get a degree program like that I can send to the office to see if I can't get it approved to like be accepted, I guess? Because they'll let you submit a degree plan and then they could say like, yeah, okay, we'll accept this. Or they could just say like, no, it doesn't fall under the 4 categories that we want you to take. So no.
I would think there's a lot of possibilities with that. We have a lot of military students in our department, a lot in the master's and a lot in the PhD program. Because ours has so much flexibility, I would say maybe reach out to one of us or the admissions office and see if we can help you kind of craft what it is that's looking for without knowing like the different requirements or the options that you have. I would imagine that because ours can be so tailored that it seems like it could be a strong possibility in us being able to meet it, particularly since we do have a ton of military personnel that go through our programs.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions, folks? No. All right.
So,
Oh,
can you
yeah.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was just trying to figure out how to word my question. So you already covered the cost of tuition. I guess for myself, I'm trying to figure out how wise of an investment pursuing such a program as this would be for myself. And so I'm curious, you went over again all the different various positions that graduates have gone on to have. So I don't know if there is a way to average it out, but I'm kind of curious, like, yeah, what the income levels are of your graduates, because I'm just thinking if I have to take out loans, how long is it going to take to pay off and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have that data readily available, but I can definitely look into it for you. Leslie, would you happen to know that?
Yeah, I don't actually have any firm data on that, though. I just think nationally, when you think for many, I guess I would say people that earn master's degree in general have a higher income average than people that have a bachelor's. Like the general data out there is that you earn more each degree that you get. So at earning a master's degree typically does offer different options for you. It kind of also depends on your career field. So for example, I come from K-12 education, and there's a direct correlation and benefit in my field where once you earn your master's degree, because you move up the salary schedule, because you get additional dollars for every course that you take. And then often they also give you an additional amount, a stipend on your salary for earning that master's degree and then a doctorate degree if you go on and do that as well. So it kind of depends on the field that you go into. And since ours is so interdisciplinary, we have people go into all different kinds of fields. But I would say in general, you do earn more if you have a master's degree than if you just have a bachelor's degree, but I don't have any specifics. Maybe Hazel will be able to get that from some of our alumni department or something.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good question. And I will definitely work on collecting that data and sharing it with you all, because it's an interesting question, but a very valid one as well.
I appreciate the answer. That makes sense with the interdisciplinary whatnot. Quick follow-up. I was at one time just debating whether or not I wanted to pursue the teaching credential at my current university or to go on and get a master's, because I currently work with college students. I'm like a student employee, and I like it. I feel like I want to keep doing it. But that being said, if I were to pursue like a K-12 teaching gig, is that something that the master's will qualify me to do, or would it still be a teaching credential that I would need to get in addition, if that makes sense?
Typically in the state of California, you do have to go through a teacher credentialing program in order to earn your credential. Now, there are some alternative ways for you to get that. We do have over in our learning and teaching department a K-12 credentialing program. So if that's something in particular that you're interested in, I would definitely encourage you to also check that out. We often have educators that go through our program that already have their teaching credential, maybe are looking to take on some teacher leadership roles or are contemplating going into an administrative position in their career. So that's more where we get them in leadership studies. They use it as really kind of a growth opportunity, and it definitely still counts on their salary schedule to move them up, because usually your teaching credentialing courses won't count to move you up that salary schedule ladder.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for the great information.
You're welcome.
All right, we have.
May I throw something in real quick on that one for Jordan? I don't know what university you're going for your bachelor's. I know I did Cal State San Marcos, and I know for you to get your credential is 3 semesters. So I would probably look into seeing what you're able to do, and I would figure out the cost also. It might be a little cheaper for you to do your 3 semesters in your undergrad and then moving to us for your master's, I would try to figure that out on top of figuring out maybe you can incorporate it through the master's, like Dr. Boozer was saying.
Yeah, thank you for that, Bobby. Because I think that if I were to get the teaching credential, don't those units count toward the master's degree, or are they entirely distinct?
They're usually distinct. Usually your administrative credential counts towards a master's degree, but not your teaching generally. In most
Okay,
programs,
perfect.
it's separate.
Yeah.
For me, like
Jordan,
I said, it was like a fork in the road for a while, and I am at Cal State San Marcos, and so I did think that I wanted to do the teaching route, but it's been a while since I've spent much time with teenagers. I wanted to be a high school teacher, kind of decided that while I was in high school, and now I've been a college student for a while, and I really enjoy working with college students. So I think that that fork in the road is behind me, and I think I want to pursue the MA so I can work with college students, but in the same breath, I do think I want to do both at some point in my life. So that's kind of why I wanted to know what the different options would be.
Yeah, Jordan, I really recommend that you set up an advising appointment because we can walk through all of your options in more detail. And same to everyone else, the program is very interdisciplinary. So it's a little bit of that. We can offer you so many options, but also maybe sometimes so many options can feel a little bit overwhelming. And then having an advising appointment with one of our advisors, we can really figure out what are your goals and how can this program assist you with getting to those goals.
Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, and we are getting close to time, so we have maybe time for one more question, if there's any takers. Okay. If not, then I'll ask Bobby and Leslie, can you close us out with just one piece of advice to our applicants?
Well, I think you just gave an excellent piece of advice, and I think is to set up an advising appointment. Also, if you're really interested to come visit a class, actually, if you can, if it's at all possible, to come onto campus, because I think that that's where you really get the real feel for what the classes are like and experience the environment here, and definitely take advantage of our amazing staff that can help you figure out the best way for you to achieve those goals, because we do have such different departments here, that I think it really gives you lots of opportunities to kind of pursue whatever pathway works best for you.
Bobby, any final pieces of advice? And I couldn't see, is Chris Marie still on here?
Yeah, she left a message.
Okay.
Says, stay curious, keep in contact with your faculty advisor and academic advisor to make sure you're making this experience your own and meeting important deadlines to graduate. If you have time, get involved on campus. USD is all about community and service and offers many opportunities to practice those values. And I echo everything that she just said. I know that for me, it made the community tighter. Your classes will be smaller at USD, which is not a bad thing because you become a community and you get to know everybody and it feels like a family. That's one of the reasons that it made me feel so much better knowing that I wasn't just a number, I wasn't just a dollar sign, I wasn't just a student. I was Bobby, how can I help you succeed? Because if the student succeeds, the school succeeds. The one advice that I would give you real quickly is you need to invest in yourself like you would invest in your family, in your children, in your house, in your business, at work. Invest in yourself. If you need a certain thing for school, purchase it. It might be too expensive, you think, in your brain, but it will help you in the long run with your mindset and your emotional stability. So invest in yourself. So if you feel like this is a big investment, but it's something that you know that you can do and you can achieve, invest in yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. And with that, we are at time, but I do invite you all again, set up an advising appointment. Feel free to email us. You'll get the recording of this session again sometime next week. And with that, we'll also include a few links for all of you to look over, as well as that fee waiver code. Okay. And again, we're here to assist you through this journey. Thank you so much, Leslie, Bobby, Chris Marie. Thank you for joining me, and thank you to all for spending this hour with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Thanks,
It's
Chris.
a little crazy. So
People want to go
I
inside.
can see.
How many
sorry
people
about
didn't vote? Let's try this
thank you
again.
for reading
How
that
many
from the
people want
chat.